Hi everyone, this is Ileana, and I wanted to make a card using some older supplies. We all have kind of tools that we hold on to that we think we're going to use in the future and then never get around to using them. And so I thought I would challenge myself to do that. So the first thing I did was pull out this Card Maps 2 book, and I went through and I found a page map or a sketch that I liked, and it was on page 62. And I decided to try to follow it as close as I could. I'm not sure how well I did, but I tried it. And I'm using the frames die set from Simon Says Stamp with some older crepe paper. It's DIY shop. I'm not sure how old that is, but I liked that one pattern paper, so I pulled it out. And I'm also using an old die set from Tim Holtz, and it is the Movers and Shapers magnetic die set. It's the one that has the two hearts, and you do have to use one of those base attachments to use the hearts. And so I went ahead and cut out the hearts, but I ended up changing my mind a lot about what I wanted to do, so you're going to see all of that. I pulled out some pattern paper from a new pad of paper from DIY shop that I purchased at Hobby Lobby, and I just cut it down just a little bit under 2 inches, and I used the banner punch from Stampin' Up. And I had the two hearts, and I did cut it out of some burlap fabric, and they were too similar, and so I wanted to do a little bit of contrast, and I didn't have any yellow paint. So what I did is I found a unopened bottle of vanilla paint, and I just used a little bit of distress ink to make my own yellow, and I'm going to paint it. And I end up not using this piece, but I just thought I'd show you that it's a lot of trial and error in making a card. They just don't pop up by themselves, and I just wanted to show you that it's okay to mess with the card until you get it just the way you like. And I didn't really like that heart. What I ended up doing was using the same heart die to cut out some more hearts using cardboard. I just had some Amazon boxes sitting around, and I just ripped a piece off of one of the boxes, and I ended up just peeling off a layer of that cardboard, and I painted them, and painted them yellow. Didn't like the yellow, so I went back and cut some more hearts out, and this time I'm going to use some Picket Fence Distress ink, just so that the heart has a little bit of contrast to the burlap one. And I didn't like the way that the cardboard was cut when you did the layer, and so I went back and I wanted more of a diagonal with the corrugated part showing, so I went back and recut it. And I'm just using the Picket Fence Distress stain to just color it a little bit. And then I'm going to take a nail file and I'm just going to distress the edges just a tiny bit. It's just an old nail file. And then I end up using that with the burlap part. And it takes me a while to figure out the placement and how I wanted to do it. It did take me like 2 days to make this card just because I kept stepping away. I would get stuck and then I would just go work on something else and then come back. Another thing I pulled out of my supplies were buttons, because I have a lot of buttons, and I think this is the first card that you've seen that I actually put a button on my card. Now I need to put the sentiment on this little strip of yellow paper, and this is actually the little strip that is on the 6x6 pattern paper. It's just kind of like a branding strip, and so I only have this tiny section because there was a hole punched in the middle of it, and I did use the banner punch from Stampin' Up to cut the edges off of it, or make the fishtail off of it. And so what I'm doing is I'm using the stamp set from Paper Tray Ink called Boutique Borders. And I'm going to be stamping it with my MISTI. It's the only time I pull out the MISTI. And the reason why I'm using it is because I need to do selective stamping. I don't need the whole sentiment on there. I just want the happy birthday. I really wanted to make this an anniversary card because it had the 2 hearts on it, but I could not find my stamp set. I think I had loaned it to a friend of mine, and I looked everywhere, could not find it. And I'm pretty organized. What I'm doing is running a little bit of repositionable adhesive on the back of the banner. That way when I press it down, it'll stay in place on the MISTI. And I do have the little imaging sheet tucked into the corner, so I know it's going to stamp exactly there. And just so that I don't have to worry about selective inking, I'm just going to run a little piece of Post-it tape, and I'm just going to ink up the whole stamp. And it's only going to stamp on the yellow exactly where I want it. And now I'm going to use that to put on the front of my card. I'm using an absorber cloth to clean off my stamps. I get that question a lot, is what is that purple or pink thing that you're using to clean off your stamps? It is an absorber cloth. And I'm also pulling out some pumice stone distress ink to distress the edges, just so that it's a little bit more pulled together. The crepe paper has a little bit of distressing on it, so I just wanted to make it a little more consistent. And I'm just going to trim off the burlap. This burlap fabric I had bought at my local crafting store, and I just have a lot of it left, and I just cut off little pieces as I need them. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put the button. And once I figure out where I want the button, I end up sewing it on with a little piece of linen thread from Paper Tray Ink. I am putting some foam tape on my banner. And I only need to do part of it because the corrugated heart it's not flat, so I only need part of it on foam. And once I figure out where I want the button to go, I end up just using a paper piercer to poke the holes, and then I go back and sew with that thread from Paper Tray Ink. And I'm just going to use a little bit of score tape. It holds really well, especially with the burlap. You're not going to get the ATG to hold that up, and I wasn't patient enough to let liquid adhesive to wait for the liquid adhesive to dry, and so I just put some score tape on the back of it. The corrugated heart is a little heavy, and so I didn't want it to fall apart. And once I get everything in place, I kind of felt like the card still needed a little bit more. I couldn't figure out what it needed, and so I thought about enamel dots, and I thought about sequins, and I just couldn't really commit to anything. And so I came up with a solution on testing what I wanted to do. I had wanted to try to use some drops. What's that thing when you flick paint onto your project? I'm not sure what it is, but I didn't want to commit to it. So what I ended up doing was I found a big plastic bag, and I put my card inside, and then I just did the paint drops on my card just to see if I liked it. And I wiped up what landed on my sentiment in the hearts, and so I could kind of see if I liked it or not. And I didn't like the way that the drops had fallen, and so I wiped it up and I tried it again until I figured out where I wanted the drops. So now that I know where the drops need to go, I cover up my sentiment and the hearts with some scrap paper. It was just an envelope I cut up. And now I'm just going to drop the paint where I would like for it to be. And that way, if I didn't like the way it turned out, I hadn't ruined my card. And so by putting it in a plastic bag, I was able to test it out to see if I liked it. And it turned out that I did like it. So thanks for watching, and be sure you pull out some of your old supplies and your old tools and just try to make something with it. Thanks for watching.